On November 11th, 2001, greatest receiver of all time, Jerry Rice, becomes the first player in NFL history to score 200 touchdowns in a Monday Night Football game against the Denver Broncos while playing for the Oakland Raiders, doing this at the age of 40 in his 18th season in the league. We're going to dive into how he became the greatest of all time and how it is not even close when you look at the numbers. Today on Daily Sports History. Welcome to Daily Sports History. I'm Ethan Reese, your guide as you daily learn more about sports history, increasing your sports knowledge as we dive into Jerry Rice today. And today's trivia question is, in how many games did Jerry Rice set the record for touchdown passes in a season? Now, Jerry Rice grew up in a small town in Mississippi, and he was the sixth of 8 kids, and his parents provided as much as they could for all their kids. But that also meant the kids had to help out as well. One thing Jerry often attributes to what helped him have such great hands was that his father was a bricklayer, and him and his brothers would help his father out before and after school laying bricks, and they would throw bricks to each other to help the jobs go faster. So this worked on their hand-eye coordination and strengthened their hands along the way. So Rice didn't really get the chance to play organized sports until high school, but not right away. He would play pickup games, sandlot games, but his mother didn't want him to play football, so he didn't play his freshman year as she thought it was too rough. As Rice was relatively thin, and as a parent myself, it's scary to put your child in a sport where they're going to get hit. But as a sophomore, Rice was actually caught skipping class by the assistant principal of his school, and he chased after him, and Rice took off. His speed was not unnoticed, so the assistant principal told the football coach that he needed to offer Rice a position on the team. And they all got together and talked to Rice's mother, and Jerry told his mom that he really wanted to, and she eventually gave up. Why fight it? He's going to figure out a way to do it anyway. But on top of that, he also played basketball and was on the track team. But on the football team, he actually played multiple positions, going both ways, playing running back, tight end, receiver, defensive back. But he really stood out as a receiver. Now, due to the small size of the school and it being in the late 70s, lots of his stats were gone. But our best guess is that his senior year, he had 50 receptions and 30 touchdowns, which led him to be all-state for Mississippi. But because he was at a small school, of course, he didn't get recruited by a lot of schools. Although he did get reached out to by multiple big programs, including Mississippi State, which was Rice's dream school. But they didn't offer a scholarship. In fact, one of the only schools that did was Mississippi Valley State, who ran a pass-heavy offense, which Rice really enjoyed. And so he joined Mississippi Valley State, which is a historically black university, which we've covered on previous episodes, including Prairie View's losing streak and Steve McNair's amazing season. And we mentioned Rice in that episode. And Rice had a solid first season, having 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the second season, he broke out, catching 66 passes and going for over 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns. And in 1983, he set NCAA records for 102 receptions and 1,450 yards. It was named first team Division IIA All-American. He even set an NCAA record during a game against Southern where he caught 24 passes. And he continued this streak as the next year he broke his own records, having over 1,800 yards and 112 receptions with 27 touchdowns. And again was named an All-American and finished 9th in the Heisman in 1984. So this was just the start for Rice, and it caught the eye of many people in the NFL. Although his production was amazing, he was at a lower level, and he didn't test that well. Running between what measured as a 4.45 or 4.7, he never was the fastest, but he always worked harder. And he was always the first one in and the last to leave, making sure his route running was on point, and he had a connection with his quarterbacks. And San Francisco believed so much in him, they actually traded picks to move up in the first round to make sure they were able to draft Jerry Rice with the number 17th pick just a year after winning the Super Bowl. But he struggled his first year, as it took him a while to acclimate to the new game and understand the new playbook. but he continued to study and continued to grow. And he finished the season strong, ending with 927 yards and 3 touchdowns his first season. And he added another rushing touchdown during that year. And now understanding the rigors of the game and having more connection with his Hall of Fame quarterback, Joe Montana, he was able to come back his second year, getting 86 receptions for over 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns. He put himself on the map, and it really stood out. But arguably, the next season was what was one of his most impressive seasons, as it was a strike-shortened season, and the teams only played 12 games. And in those 12 games, he was able to have over 1,000 yards and a record 22 touchdowns. A record that was only broken by Randy Moss by 1 touchdown in a 16-game season. And because he was able to get over 1,000 yards, it continued a streak of over 11 years of having over 1,000 yards, and arguably would have been more if it wasn't for injury. And this is what made him so dangerous as a player, is that he was so consistent. In the 1992 season, he was able to surpass Steve Largent, catching his 101 touchdown pass to become the all-time leader in touchdown passes. And he would play another 12 years after this. This is what made his numbers stand out for longevity, but it wasn't that he played for such a long time, which he did. It was that he was good for such a long time. He would go on to win 3 Super Bowls with the 49ers, being Super Bowl MVP of Super Bowl 23, where he had over 200 yards and a touchdown during that game against the Cincinnati Bengals. He'd be a 2-time Offensive Player of the Year and be named first team All-Pro 10 times and second team once. 13-time Pro Bowler, and even when San Francisco thought he was done, at the age of 38, he joined the Oakland Raiders and had 2 more 1,000-yard seasons, helping lead them to the 2001 Super Bowl, which was the only one he lost. But that year, on November 11th, against the Denver Broncos, he would set the record, scoring his 200th touchdown. And that same year, he would go past Walter Payton as the all-time leader in yards from scrimmage with over 21,000 yards. And Jerry just didn't know how to quit. And that, sadly, was his downfall. As after his 2003 season with Oakland, where he had over 800 yards, he struggled the next season, and Oakland would trade him to Seattle, where he also struggled, but was able to have 3 touchdowns and over 300 yards. He would try to get on with Denver, but would decide to retire, ending an historic 20-year career with numbers that are crazy. He leads the NFL in receptions with over 1,549. The next closest receiver is Larry Fitzgerald, who is less than 100 receptions away. And there's even a bigger gap between, and for the career yards mark, he has 22,895. No other receiver has over 20,000. And Larry Fitzgerald's the next closest with over 17,000. He finished his career with 197 receiving touchdowns. Randy Moss has the second spot with 156. And he ended his career with over 208 all-purpose touchdowns, including rushing and fumbling returns. The next closest is Emmitt Smith with 175 touchdowns. And he had 14 seasons with at least 1,000 yards. And no one else has had more than 10 in their career. What made Jerry so special was that work ethic he learned as a child. He had to earn everything. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the strongest. He didn't jump the highest. But he was just great at every aspect. His route running, his hands, his football IQ. He was the perfect player. Now, many say that he lucked out because he played with 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in Joe Montana and Steve Young. Now, maybe he did, but he also made them better. They had their best seasons with Jerry Rice. And for quarterback and receiver, it goes hand in hand. There's not many quarterbacks that make the Hall of Fame without having a receiver that did the same. You can only play where you end up. And Jerry made sure that he ended up making his team better. And if you like this episode, you can check out the Behind the Mic podcast. and that's a "the" with an A, where host Mike Neal discusses stories, games, draft Super Bowls, and team origins, and more, all to get you your sports history fix every day. I'll put a link in the description below for you to check it out. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating or review wherever you're listening. It really helps us grow, and it helps us make more and more sports history for you every day. And we'll see you tomorrow for more daily sports history. And the answer to today's trivia question: in how many games did it take Jerry Rice to set the record for touchdowns in a season? And the answer is 12. He scored 12 touchdowns. He scored 22 touchdowns in just 12 games. And the record currently is 23 touchdowns set by Randy Moss in 16 games.